everybody, this is Esme and today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be all about riding on the road because I get so many different questions. As you can see, it's very muddy this time of year. So muddy in fact that it's pretty much impossible to ride across the fields because it is so wet. So I tend to ride on the roads a lot more this time of year in the winter in England. So yeah, I have people across the globe watching my videos, and in England or in the UK, it's a little bit more common for us to actually ride on the roads, and that's because where I live, it's actually been people living here for over 1,000 years. My village has been here since sort of the Doomsday Book back in sort of the 11th century, so a really long time ago. So obviously back then people to get around would use horse and carts, would use horses, so all of the roads were actually designed for horses and horse and carts, and it's only really been in the last 100 years that more and more people have started to drive cars, and cars are used more often on the roads. So we actually still have some roads that not many people with cars sort of drive across. Only people in my village who actually live here drive. So I tend to ride on these smaller and quieter roads. These roads are actually so tiny. Usually you can only just about get one car through, and often the roads that we drive across have like moss or mud or sometimes even grass growing in the middle of it. So you can really tell that there isn't much traffic that goes down here. And I actually, when I learned to ride horses, I actually learned to ride on the road. So I was on like a little Shetland pony at my local stables, and they would just lead us on the road, and that's how I got into horses, because the local riding stables, their horses would ride past my house all the time. So yeah, so in today's video I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more about the safety and things when riding on the roads, why it's done, why it's useful. So yeah, we need to go and get this boy ready to ride. So Casper's actually been out in the field this morning. I like him to be out all day. I love my horses to just be a horse, be able to go out in the fields even though they are so muddy. So this guy is a little bit filthy right now. I also need to take his rug off because obviously we get a lot of rain here in England as well. I've just hosed off his hooves just to make sure that all of his shoes are still on, because Casper actually has shoes because we do a bit of road work. His hooves actually don't grow very fast at all. So he has to have shoes, if not his hooves get worn down so much that he becomes footsore. So for medical reasons he does have to have shoes. So something I'm actually going to show you in a bit is Casper actually has these things called road pins. So these little pins in his hooves that basically stop him from slipping on the roads. Obviously it's really dangerous to go out on the roads if it's icy, or if the road maybe has been worn down loads and it becomes really slippery. So we always have sort of our routes that we know, that we like. We make sure there aren't many potholes. It's really good surface to ride on, just because obviously when you're going out on the roads, you want it to be as low risk as possible. And sometimes when we go on hacks, we always try and stick to the bridle paths. And often when you go on a bridle path, you'll be riding along, and then you actually have to ride on the road a little bit to get to the next part of the bridle path. So that's another reason why it's important to sort of know information about staying safe on the roads. So yeah, now I've washed off his hooves, it's now time to take off his rug and give him a little bit of a groom. Hello, Casper. Hello. So as you can see, it's not always the best owning a grey horse. They get dirty pretty easily, but actually when it comes to riding on the road, it's actually a benefit owning a grey because they are lighter and brighter. They do really stand out on a sort of darkish kind of day like today. So it's good because then the cars can see us a lot better. Now Casper is nice and clean, so the tack doesn't rub on him on the mud when he's riding. I'm now just going to pick out his hooves, which is really important to do before and after you go on a hack, especially after, as sometimes if you're riding on the roads, little stones and things can get stuck in your horse's hooves. So here, I don't know if you can see, there's actually a little road pin here. So this is just like a little bump. It's kind of like a really miniature stud, and it just gives him a little bit more grip when we're riding on the roads. Now Casper is groomed, it's time to tack him up. So the first thing I'm going to put on are actually these boots. As you can see, I'm being very matchy today. I am head to toe in neon yellow because this is such a bright colour. It's really good to wear so then the cars can see you, as well as just other people on the roads as well. Here in England we have a lot of cyclists, we also have a lot of dog walkers and other road users, so it's also good for them to spot you and you to kind of spot them. Also, where I live there are no pavements or sidewalks for Americans. It's literally just a road. We do have verges, which is like a little bit of grass on the side, but no, there aren't any pavements, and horses actually legally are not allowed to go on pavements, so we are road users, we have to stick to the roads. So here I have the boots I'm going to be putting on Casper. As I've said, they're neon yellow, so nice and bright, but these are actually also reflective, so if cars have their headlights on, it reflects really well. Obviously, I never ride on the roads when it's dark or when it's night. That's just not sensible, not good to do. So yeah, so these also are brushing boots, so if Casper's trotting along, it just means that if his legs accidentally bump together, it just protects him a little bit more as well. So obviously some people own more high-vis and things than others. I always think the more the merrier when it comes to riding on the roads. I often find that if you wear more, cars tend to slow down a lot quicker. It could be because they see you from a lot further distance, or it could be because they're like, wow, that horse has got a lot of high-vis on, I'm going to slow down for that person. So here I actually have an ear bonnet from DVR Equestrian Sport. I like to wear these because obviously if it's on Casper's head, it's like bam, if a car is coming from head on, they can really see you well. You can actually get high vis in lots of different colours. You can also get it in like neon green, neon orange, neon pink, whatever takes your fancy. I usually just go for the classic yellow. So I'm just going to put this on Casper. Some horses really hate ear bonnets, they just don't like things touching on their ears. Casper is such a good boy. He's pretty much desensitized to everything, so I'm just gonna pop this on him. There we go. Looking fab. You can also get like little rugs as well that go on their butt, which is also really good, especially for cars coming behind. You can get little bits of tape that go on their tails, wrap around there, but it really depends on you and your horse and what you own. When riding on the roads, the minimum you should probably wear when riding is at least one bib. So here I just have a neon yellow one that says caution horse. You can get these from like tack shops and things, or you can just get like a builder's jacket or like a builder's kind of top. You can get a lot of sort of bright yellow ones for not that much money. Here I actually have a special horse one. It says please pass wide and slow, because in the UK we actually have laws where you have to pass wide and slow when you're overtaking a horse. And I actually did my driving test about over 2 years ago now, I think. So when you're learning in the UK, you actually have to do a theory test first before you're allowed to actually take your test, your practical, where you're actually driving a car. And you actually get quite a few questions about horses. So some of the questions are, for example, what should you do when you're overtaking a horse? For example, it teaches you not to beep your horn, to be patient, not to spook the horse, to pass wide and slow. And I think at the moment, the maximum speed you can pass when passing a horse is 15 miles per hour. So you should probably pass less than 15 when you're going around a horse. Just make sure you give the horse enough room not to scare it and things. And the same goes for when you're passing a cyclist. Of course, you need to slow down, you need to give them enough room, because you don't want to hit other road users as well. So yeah, that's just something I thought you guys would find really interesting, because I don't know, let me know in the comments below if you guys are from different countries and if when you're taking a driving test, if you need to learn about horses on the road or other road users, because I just thought that was really interesting. Now to get Casper ready, I need to put on his saddle, and the saddle pad or numner I'm actually using today is this sort of yellowy, greeny, sort of bright coloured one. This is sort of one of the brightest ones I have. I don't actually have a neon one. You can actually get neon ones and reflective ones, which is definitely something I might invest my money into because that seems like such a good idea. But for now, I'm using one of my brightest, which is just this one. Obviously, also, it's a really good idea before you go out hacking, especially if you're going on a really long ride for a couple of hours. It's good to make sure that all of your tack has been checked, that nothing's going to break along the way, that all of the stitching is good. So yeah, time to put on his saddle. Good boy. Okay everybody, Casper and I are now all geared up and ready to go on our ride. I've put on my helmet and I've also got my gloves on as well. I'm just one of those people, I love wearing gloves when I'm riding, especially this time of year, my hands get pretty cold. But it's also really good to wear gloves that are lighter colours or brighter colours. So when you're signalling to other road users which direction you're going in, they know where you're going. Sorry, Casper's getting a little bit excited, a bit fidgety because he knows he's going on a hack and it's one of his favourite things. Whenever we go hacking, he's always like ears forward the whole way, so he's getting pretty excited for that. So yeah, lighter gloves are always good, especially when you're signalling. Sometimes other road users or cars always expect horse riders to put their hands up to thank them if they do pass slow, and yes, it's really good to thank drivers if they do pass wide and slow, but I've always been taught to keep your hands on the reins, especially if you have a slightly spookier horse, just to maintain your contact and control and things. So instead I like to smile, I like to nod and sometimes mouth thank you. I do try and say thank you as loud as I can, but obviously if you're in a car it's kind of difficult to hear, but as long as they've kind of acknowledged you and you've acknowledged them and you're polite and you kind of be like thank you and they kind of get the message that you're grateful for them slowing down, that's always great. So I think this guy is getting very excited and ready to go. So I'm going to take my little helmet cam with me and you can see us on our ride. Let's go. Okay everybody, welcome to a little ride with me. So we'd actually walked quite a bit before our first trot here. He was a little bit lucky in the forest. He's often a little bit more lucky at the beginning of our ride, as you can see here. Just a dip in the road. Come on. Come on, Snortle boy. Casper is a really good boy when it comes to hacking, but if anything is slightly different to how it was last time, he does like to have a little look at things, a little bit of a snort. Don't know why he does that, it's just something funny about him. So we continued on our ride, did a little bit more trot, and trot is actually the fastest gait that you can do on the roads. Obviously, it is not good to canter on the roads, so we only do some walk and a little bit of trot as well. I just put a lot of trot clips in this video to make it a little bit more entertaining. So as we were coming up to a corner, I just went back down into walk. So if a car did come, again I've gone onto the left side of the road because in England we do drive on the left. And a horse is a road user, so horses are supposed to be on the left side of the road. And again here I'm just going back to walk because we're actually coming up to a really tight corner. I hate having to go around this corner even when I'm driving in my own car. I always go so much slower because you just can't see around the corner. It's such a horrible blind corner, but luckily there were no cars. Obviously when I am riding on the roads I'm always listening for if cars are coming, so I never ride with headphones or music or anything like that. It's just for safety reasons. It's always good to listen out, even for things like bikes or dog walkers. Every few seconds or so I always look behind me just to check in case there's anything there. Often I find cyclists can be quite quiet and can kind of sneak up on you, and my brother and my dad are actually really keen cyclists, so whenever they go on rides and see horses, especially if they're coming up behind, they always shout "Hi horses!" just so then they know that they're there. So here we're on a very narrow road, there's a ditch next to me on the left, so I decided it would be best for us to go down into a halt just in case Casper spooked, because I don't want to end up in the ditch. But Casper is a very good boy when it comes to traffic. He's so good. Here he just moved his head a bit, so I was like, no mate, just move that round again. And then when the car went past, I nodded, I said thank you, as I really do appreciate when these cars do pass nice and wide and slow. And then because we're on a nice straight long road, there were no cars coming, we went for another little trot, and as you can see by the smile on Casper's face, he just absolutely loves hacking. And then here we're coming up to a junction, so I just have a quick little look behind me. I go downwards into a walk. I have another little check around for cars. I put my arm out after checking. Have another look around before I make my turn. Check around for cyclists, for any cars, any people. And then we cross. And again, because we're in England, we stick to the left-hand side of the road, just in case there were any cars coming from the opposite direction. We didn't want to be in their path. We don't want to be in the way. We want everybody to go along with their day as easy as possible. And then after this, we're actually on a road that you know is good to ride on because there's grass, there's mud, and there's moss growing in the centre. These are the kind of roads you want to be on because you know that there are going to be barely any cars going down here. However, because these roads are so narrow, you can kind of see where the cars have been driving, and they've literally been driving in the centre of the road. I don't blame them, that's what I do down here because it's the only kind of way, and because it is so narrow, this guy in the car was so lovely. He actually completely stopped for us to go past, so I gave him a really big thank you, as we're all here sharing the roads together, and he really didn't have to actually stop. He could have just gone past slowly, but no, he was a really nice guy, completely stopped for us, which was brilliant. Casper, I'm so lucky that he's brilliant in traffic. He's fine with cars. We had some vans and things, trailers, he's pretty good with. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed a little ride with me on the roads, and if you're from a different country, maybe learned a little bit more about sort of the road culture here in England. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you're new or have not done so already, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!